Welcome as Fight for Life presents an open forum with Dr. Emanuel Revici. My name is Adrian Himmelbrand. I'm one of the co-founders of Fight for Life. And before we begin this afternoon's presentation, I'd like to tell you a little something about our organization. Fight for Life is a non-profit corporation that was created to provide social, emotional, practical, and spiritual support for individuals and their families dealing with life-threatening illness. Towards this end, we utilize the techniques of hypnosis, relaxation, cognitive restructuring, imagery, and visualization. We believe that there is no one helpless in their fight for recovery, and that there are actions we all can take to help in our fight for recovery. We believe that people who do have cancer have control of their lives, and therefore there is always hope for recovery. We therefore encourage people to be more active participants in their fight for recovery and not passive, hopeless, helpless victims of the illness. We provide information to people on a wide variety of topics related to cancer prevention and dealing with a diagnosis, such as diet, nutrition, exercise, stress and stress management, coping with emotions, dealing with pain and depression, and alternative treatments. We run support groups, and our groups meet here at St. Martin's of Tours on a regular basis, and all our services are free. We believe that positive emotions strengthen the immune system, which is the body's first line of defense against cancer, and that negative emotions depress the immune system. A depressed immune system impedes the fight for recovery, while a strengthened immune system may make the possibility of recovery more likely. We therefore believe that pursuit of happiness, having a good quality of life, and maintaining a positive attitude is a central part in the fight for life and the fight for recovery. And now to talk more about the mind-body connection, I'd like to present Joanne Lejeune.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian, and welcome. Historically, there have been many interesting and intriguing examples of a mind-body connection. One story that comes to my mind is the story of the Dutch Prince of Oranges, who was able to help his troops recover from symptoms of scurvy. It seems that the prince's troops were besieged and cut off completely from supplies of fresh foods, and they were suffering badly the effects of scurvy. The prince was able to send to them small vials of colored water. With these small vials came the information that this was a rare and potent medicine taken from the Orient, and when mixed with large quantities of water, this medication would impart its healing virtues. Now the troops, believing this to be factual, did take the prescribed dose of medication and were thereby relieved greatly from their symptoms of scurvy. This event took place around 1625. Now history is of course replete with examples of the mind-body connection. Although medical science is only now grudgingly becoming aware of it and admitting its reality, although primitive societies have been aware of it for thousands of years. Over the last few years, there has been an unprecedented expansion in awareness and interest in the demonstrated power of the imaging capacity of the mind to direct and to control processes of the body. By forming compelling mental images, we can initiate a mind-body interaction. Now, how this works is that a person makes a clear mental statement of an event that he wishes to happen. By repeating this statement, he soon comes to expect that it will happen. And as a result of this positive expectation, the person or the person's body acts acts in ways consistent with achieving the desired result and, in effect, helps to bring it about. This mind-body interaction is mediated through the immune system. That is, our body's defenses against invading organisms or its own runaway cancerous cells. Now, let us not lose sight of the fact that healing is not something that we have to make happen. It is a natural process occurring in all of us. Those people in a healing state are those people who are healing more intensely than the others. Now, there's mounting evidence that hypnotically induced mental imaging of the white blood cells going about their respective functions can markedly increase their effectiveness. We can, with our own consciousness, gain greater mastery over our bodies and mobilize our natural healing processes. Active and positive participation using imagery, visualization, cognitive restructuring, and relaxation techniques can influence our treatment and improve our qualities of life. Now I'd like to introduce Sal DeBella, who will tell us about the program we have planned this afternoon. Sal, excuse me.
Thank you, Joanne. Now, along with the topics we cover at our regular meetings, we discuss alternative treatment. In 1946, Dr. Revici worked in Mexico, where he had started the Institute of Applied Biology. In Romania, he was an assistant professor in medicine and was chief of laboratory of the bacteriology. Dr. Revici is a private practitioner in Manhattan. His office is on 91st Street. We present Dr. Revici and his alternative or non-traditional cancer therapies and treatments. Dr. Revici.
I must recognize this practice for the first time, but I have the opportunity to speak front of a group not of scientists, not of biochemists, not of specialists in cancer. It is interesting for me too, this attitude which I had. I have the Institute of Applied Biology, a very strongly scientific, not only medical, but in general institution. There are very many important things coming out, so far that now it is a group in Europe, in Germany, working my things which I've developed in physics, not in medicine, but in physics. And other groups, it is in medicine, especially in Italy and also in France. I was interested by a fortunate occurrence in the one aspect, the psychological aspect of different disease, and especially in cancer. Years ago came to me a gentleman. He told me he was a PhD and a psychologist, and he told me I am interested in the psychological aspect of cancer. I went to all the big hospitals in New York, and not one was interested. Somebody told me to come to see you. I discussed a little with him, And I told him, I'm very interested. It is an aspect which I believe play a role totally neglected. And we started to work together. Not for a long time, 12 years. After 12 years, there came out a series of publications. And one of them, a very important, 17 pages, was the first article in the Journal of National Cancer Institute. It could not be something higher. Dr. Leshan, that is his name, is today a big authority in the problem of psychology, and especially psychology in cancer, with the fact that today there are practically in most of the highest hospitals psychologists of cancer, psychologists treating the big problem of the psychology in cancer. We found a basis, a very scientific basis, biological, related in part with some secretion and especially of adrenal, to explain an entire group of facts which are the importance of the psychological aspect in the patient of cancer. We remember he made a statistic and he showed, and especially in one form, all the cases with lymphoma, with cancer of the lymphatic tissue, practically not one didn't have at the beginning, when he became sick, an emotion, a problem, a psychological problem, a shock. We saw other cases having, during the treatment, having a shock and changing practically entirely the evolution of the treatment of the patient. I remember especially, it was a young lady, very seriously sick. We believed all that we died, but she responded especially well. Until a day, somebody came and told me, Dr. Revici, this lady is a teacher, and I heard they wanted to fire her. I know the patient. It will be very bad for her. I sent somebody to the boss. I spoke myself with him, and I told him, I know the person. Even if it is something very important, but the life of that girl is also very important. They fired her. It is unbelievable how in less than 1 week, from a person responding splendidly to a treatment, she became completely another person, not responding to the treatment. The patient went down and down and down, and I fought, and we fought with our psychologist at the end to bring her back, with the word, to life. I will never forget other cases in which a patient was doing exceptionally well. Her husband died suddenly by an accident. And this patient, who was practically a sample of good, splendid response to the treatment, became one not responding at all to the same medication, with practically a very bad case. And in my practice for so many years, I have so many examples that today is part of my attitude and my I put the word even treatment to think over about the psychological condition. I will not forget something relatively recent. A patient came to see me and he didn't come in. She remained in my waiting room, and her family, her husband and a friend came in my room to discuss a consultation without the patient. The patient was outside. Around 10 days later, the patient came in consultation. And she told me something. I was in your waiting room, and I spoke with some of your patients. And they changed completely my life. Before I took anything from your treatment, I am feeling so much better. I was not eating. I was crying the whole time. Now I know that it is a possibility for my life, a probability. And I'm feeling so much better. Fortunately, she started the treatment and she responded very exceptionally well. We tried to explain biologically, and we found a relationship between the response with adrenal to this emotional, psychological condition. But today even it's part of our attitude in the treatment of cancer, the patient, to speak with the patient, to explain him that even if you had a cancer, even when she comes from 3 or 4 doctors telling you have only 3 months or 2 months, but it is hope, and she said more than hope, is like the word probability. Surely I must recognize that it is not only this, but this helped definitively my treatment. Why I am entitled to this attitude, I will speak the word optimistic in the problem of cancer or in the other problems. I must recognize I am not too long in the problem of cancer, only 70 years. To thousands and thousands and thousands of patients. I must recognize that in the progress of our research, in the last time, we had really very good advances. We have in our treatment now, applying certain basic concepts, basic new concepts, some new preparation, which I must recognize especially influential and happy. For cancer, but for other disease, which is so important, and so important which we obtain, to tell you the name, AIDS. AIDS represents not only a medical problem, a social problem. I was interested in the problem of AIDS very much because I studied the viruses. And I studied even a long time ago. I was working at the Faculty of Medicine in Paris, and I worked with viruses, not AIDS, it was not in this time. And we had an accident. One tube broke, and we infected some of my assistants and myself. The right arm became a little paralyzed, the vision. But at one moment, my center of respiration were affected. They brought me to a hospital, to an American hospital in Neuilly, in the iron lung. And they lived in the iron lung. sometime, not able to breathe. This was, I told always, my sacrifice, my pay for my research in viruses. I continued after, in spite of this accident, and we arrived to very important concepts and we studied especially the problem of AIDS. I will tell only 2-3 words because it is not the field. I found that in AIDS, besides the virus, which is very important, but more important is something else. There are some lymphocytes, some leukocytes in the blood who are sick, and they represent practically like a legion of viruses. And 90% of the disease is due to these things which I found. And I told, if we want to treat virus, to treat AIDS, treat virus, but treat especially the lymphocytes, the sick lymphocytes. And based on this, I make a treatment which gives us exceptionally good results. Practically everyday cases, but cases far advanced. I communicate relatively recent something really impressive. Dying AIDS. Patient who is not responding more, who has no more than 1 or 2 days. I found that it is missing in these cases a special substance, a defense substance of the body, who is destroyed by the leukocytes, by the lymphocytes. I found it, I isolated, and I injected. Patients who didn't today respond a word, the next day spoke with me. The third day was ambulatory. I was very impressed with this, and I was in movies. And the man told me, Dr. Revici, I heard about this kind of research that you had. Tell us. And I told him a little. And he told me, now I will tell you something, Dr. Revici. I had a friend, this was on television, and he spoke. I have a friend with an AIDS, and I was to see him. He answered, he didn't speak with me, he was with a head in one side, and they make arrangement for the funeral. A week later, he told me, my wife was there, the bed was empty. And she told, I'm sorry, tomorrow I will make a mess for him. Well, not at all. He received a medication for Dr. Revici, and he is now shopping. It was not, he told me about case, the man was dying. It was shopping. We have so cases. In the problem AIDS, fortunately, we are very far advanced. They will start next week in Washington, but probably the man who is in charge for this experiment officially from Food and Drug and for National Cancer Institute goes in vacation for 2 days, so that by the middle of September he will start officially treating AIDS patients with my method. But I know for the moment what I have. We have exceptionally good results. We have good results in cancer. Also, some new concepts. We found the fact that all the cancer cells are very sensitive to a certain substance, a sulfur. But sulfur was tried unsuccessfully in cancer. I found something else. It is only when this sulfur is part of a lipid then is active. I must recognize that the problem of lipid was a problem of my life. I wrote 800 pages, most of them on lipids. The definition of the lipids, a biochemical, which is now in the college, is my definition. So I know lipids. And I incorporated in one lipid the sulfur. And we obtained unbelievable good results. This gives us two things. Number one, hope that we will be much more utilized, and I hope it will very much utilized. I will tell you one single impressive thing. By injection, it had a thing. I had a patient with a cancer of the breast. They took a biopsy by nasal cancer. And we started our treatment 1 month injection. She came back, the tumor there, the same dimension. And I told, according to my research in animals, this tumor is no more alive. It is a dead tumor. The lady was a sister of one in the direction of Memorial Hospital. They took the tumor out, and they became crazy. Not one single cancer cell alive, and hundreds and from 3-4 laboratories, because they could not believe it. I told them, why? Because I have my experiment in animal. I take rats with a tumor like this. I inject this substance. The tumor remains almost the same in a month. I took the tumor out and I gave it to 3 pathologists. They told me, tumor free of a live cell. All the cells are dead. I make something else. I took pieces from this tumor and transplanted to animals. Not one make a cancer. We have a mean, and this is very interesting, and must learn them, to kill the tumor, to make it, instead of a live tumor, a dead tumor. But the tumor is there, and takes sometimes months until it is absorbed. I had a case like this. The mother of a Secretary of State, very important, with a cancer of the liver until to the pubis, enormous, and from a cancer of the stomach. She was practically dying. I treat her, and all my signs tell me the tumor is dead. I spoke with the doctor, his doctor. You understand, he had a lot of high doctors, viewed who is what doctor. And they told me, Dr. Revici, I recognized the patient was very sick. Today is playing golf. But the tumor is here. The liver is full of tumor until to the pubis. I tell you, look something. We stopped all the treatment. Nothing. Until what happened? It took 6 months to have the liver coming back. Saying that what I told, that I believe it, my treatment killed the tumor. But the tumor remains there, a dead tumor. But if I accept this, then it's very simple. You will not say, I want to have the tumor out. If the tumor is there in the breast, still the treatment is not good. The treatment is good because we kill the tumor. But it takes months after the body resorted without any inflammation, without anything. Now, A little based on these things, my optimism and my attitude for the patients and for their mental, psychological condition, from their hope, has changed much more in the favor. And I explained to the patient, you have a tumor here. I will treat her. The tumor will be there, will not grow. But it takes 6 months or 4 months to have it going down. Don't despair. If you want to be convinced, I will take a piece out, tell them back to me, and show that it's no more cancer cell. It's a new mentality to tell to somebody, you have the tumor, but the tumor is dead. And I have it, and I have means by analysis to confirm. A treatment usually for a month and a half, and give us a tumor dead, but the tumor is there. And I am a little strong. I must tell the patient, don't get despair. You want to convince yourself, take a piece of the tumor, or even from the lung, and you will see they are not more alive. If not, wait, not long. A dead tumor will not give you neither pain, not bleeding blood or nothing. Wait once, and you will see how much better you will see in spite of the fact that you have a tumor. And I see practically this every day. I have a patient with a big tumor here, in despair. Now he's perfectly convinced, because instead to have pain to make him crazy and to take morphine, now more than 3 weeks, not one single pain, but the tumor is still there, the best. The tumor in the mouth will start to go down. He will need other several months to have this disappear. I could not convince him if I would not convince myself. As a form of the new treatment in which we are killing the cancer cell without making it disappear immediately. For this, when I see some patients, sometimes I tell them about the method. Sometimes I don't tell them. But part of my treatment is also to speak with them. For me it's not difficult because I believe it. It's very difficult to convince something you are against this you are taking. But I am convinced when I tell them, old man, you are not condemned to die. They told you to die in 3 months. You will not die. Let's wait. We will see what happens in 3 months, what happens in 6 months. Don't prepare you to die. And most of the patients, because they are seeing other of my patients, believe me, and they started, I will say the word, a new life. And we have a new life starting for patients, which even for myself, a year ago, were still very condemned. I know in your attitude here, it is fighting for life. I am fighting for life on 2 fields. In one field, biologic, medical, but in one field, I am very much together with you, not knowing about and not knowing you about me. Convincing the people that they must have hope, they must not despair. I must recognize the actual treatment in cancer is a disaster. 490,000 people are dying, Americans are dying a year from cancer, and most of them have some treatment during the very few cancer dying without having any treatment. They have the classical treatment, the radiation and chemotherapy. It's difficult sometimes to convince them. It's difficult for me to tell somebody coming to me, don't go and make chemotherapy. I cannot, because it's treatment of somebody else, and myself as a practicing doctor, I cannot interfere. But I understand that they are speaking with patients which I was treated when they are treated. It's not necessary that I tell them. They learned. And they come back to tell me, Dr. Revici, you know, I am now changed. I have hope. I have hope on your treatment. I have hope in my work and my psychological who can also help me. And this is the situation in which we are today. Fortunately, we can help a lot with a new treatment and help in AIDS and in cancer. But in the same time, we need these people to know they are not condemned to die, that it exists something which can help them, and they must have hope. And their treatment, hope is one of the best medication. And for this, the hope we give also you, which is very important. And for this is the first time that I come in to speak not in a medical or chemical company. Excuse me a little my English, excuse me my ideas, this was like this, but I believe you understood my attitude. And it is very much respecting and in the same direction with yours.
Okay, Dr. Revici, I just have a few questions for you. In your opinion, why do some people get cancer and others don't?
One of the very important aspects of my research, biological, is the origin of cancer. What is cancer? In my concept, I studied the origin of life and the species. They found several characteristics characterizing a species which started and continued developing. They started from very low and going up and up and up, to arrive to a very curious conclusion. The cancer is a parasite, is an animal foreign entirely from our body, which lives his life. And that is my attitude and my theory in cancer. The cancer is a foreign parasite, an isoparasite, which has, very interesting, evolution like another animal. An animal starts with one cell and they get bigger and bigger, and after developing, which is called ontogenetic, growing. We observe exactly the same thing in cancer. It started with a lesion here. If we are very lucky, we take a biopsy before it is a cancer. It is a pre-cancer or cancer in situ, which after evolved to a cancer. And after this evolved further, in a phase like higher, invading. it arrives to a phase in the other animal multiplying. There are a lot of animals who are multiplying by sending cells out of them, which are becoming by themselves a new animal. It is exactly what happened with this arrive, not from the beginning, but arrive a point in which this foreign animal is multiplying by sending seeds. It goes farther. And in this development is something very interesting. I have shown that the pain in the body is related with the intervention of some specific cells, the connective cells. The cancer arrives to a moment in which in its development starts to have abnormal connective cells. The conclusion, it became painful. It was not painful. The big tumor here and here is not painful at all. What has changed now from a non-painful to transform in a severe painful? And we know an evolution of the animal arrives to the state in which it's related with the connective tissue. But it doesn't remain there. It goes higher. And you have a tumor which started with nothing here, the patient in the bed, dying, completely destroyed. By what? By an animal evolved much higher, much more aggressive, much more means, which didn't have that, neither here, nor when it can be multiplied, nor when the pain, but have them now. And we found some of these substances. It is very interesting. It is in the family of the phospholipids. And this gave us the idea how to fight a far advanced patient, not only in cancer, and most of the things, by these substances. A defense phospholipid is a substance which I isolated and which gives us very good. This is a substance which I told you that in aid would be somebody who didn't respond today, the third day coming in my office working. The same, this is a substance which I founded general as the product, terminal product of a disease, terminal product of a cancer, terminal product of the AIDS. And this is the situation. And this explains why we have also the hope and we have the means in our research to hope to influence very many of the terminal cases too. I tried in cancer, I tried very successful in AIDS, but I tried on other things, these phospholipids, certain phospholipids. If there was somebody knows, we had an ethanolamine in the, I introduced in the molecule, because I can be a biochemist. And this gives us a hope that with this concept of a foreign parasite to be able to fight at different stages. I don't give to the last the same thing which I give to the first. The first doesn't need this. For the pain, I don't give the last when the patient is dying. When the patient is dying, it is a phospholipid. It doesn't help the pain. For the pain, I go a little lower, going up right here. And here it is, for instance, working not with the oxygen, but with the sulfur. So it is a new concept and new development of the cancer as a parasite, as a foreign animal developing and fighting and unfortunately successfully destroying the host.
Okay, Dr. Revici, my second question is, what do you see for cancer research in the future?
As a joke to look at my work. Not a joke. Surely we are evaluating. There are surely in our research things which certain specific groups in the world pay very strong attention. One state is Italy. It's true, when I came there, I came in a very good situation. I was already a member of 3 academies, there the Academy of Science. But they took an attitude exceptionally favorable and interesting in my research. For the AIDS, the government told me to work together with the University of Bologna, a very, very famous, especially in AIDS. And in reality we obtained together very good, very interesting. There, in the test tube of lymphocytes infected with the virus of AIDS, I demonstrated the sulfur. I showed that I introduced this on one of salt, changed it completely. And they have, it's very interesting, that they have the diagrams, the control from here to here of a certain substance which are manufactured by the lymphocytes infected with AIDS. Treated with mine, 0. Treated with other, 0. Treated other, 0. The same experiment. Here, enormous, 0 with mine. This I make it at the University of Bologna. In it. More than this, the government has encouraged me and encouraged a friend of mine, and we sent our preparation to the University of Milano, to the University of Roma, and paid to make the study, complete study, an animal and this, and I hope the month of September our treatment in cancer to become the official treatment in Italy. Because we know results which we have. I know so far more than this. Recently, 4 big cases from America, Pfizer, Squibb, tell me 1 or 2, sent their substances for cancer and said that no, we don't need it, we have a Revici substance. This is officially by the government of Italy. And they know all those things are that August everybody was in vacation. For this in the month of September, very, very, more than probably, that my treatment became the official treatment of Italy in cancer.
Thank you, Dr. Revici. Dr. Revici has been kind enough to entertain any questions from the audience, so I think I'll move right through the audience if anyone has any questions, and we can address them to Dr. Revici. I'll try to get there with the microphone. Okay. Maybe we could face the camera so we can get the questions.
I just wanted the doctor to clarify what lipids were in a more extent.
The question, Dr. Revici, is to clarify what exactly lipids are.
I will give you the definition which I gave it, and I heard from a few days ago that by exam in the college in the United States asking my definition. It is very curious. I am a MD, but I'm very, very much interested in physics. And I told that in Germany, there are some universities are working very special they pay for a special price for physics for myself. I gave in the definition of the lipids a definition for physics. A lipid is a polar non-polar substance in which the non-polar group is predominant, in which the van der Waals cohesion forces are bigger than the polar electrostatic forces. That is my definition, which is in the books. It means the lipid is made by two parts. A polar group, like carboxyl, hydrophoric acid, alcohol, amine, bound to a body. This body is longer, non-polar, like an fatty acid. Take the acid out, you have a long body. This is a non-polar body. A polar group bound to a non-polar. And this is, and I found something, it's a little advanced, but I will tell you anyhow, extremely important, which I believe is a basis of my treatment, and I will tell the world, very successful, not only in many, many other things. I found that in the entire body, the lipids are bound, except brain and red cells, which are free. Otherwise, they are bound. No free lipids. I found something the first time, that the lesions have free lipids. And this explains why they are active, but I utilized the free lipids, and I gave my medication all as lipids. They are going in the entire body on the place where it is a free lipid, in a lesion, not in the cells nearby, only the lesion. And this is let's put the secret, or no more the secret because they know it, that is the basis of my success in my research. The fact that I found that the lipids, free lipids, are present in the lesion and only in the lesion. Brain is, yes, but is protected, and red cells, red cells in the blood is something else. But otherwise, no going in any place, except specifically where it is a lesion. And I see very interesting things. I had a patient, her husband, her brother, who was in Memorial Hospital, published her case. And she's still there. I gave her the medication, and they make her injection. Had a cancer of the breast. Make him the injection. And she told 15 minutes after the injection, she had a sensation here and another place here. They found later it was also a cancer here. No other place. My medication went exclusively where it was the lesion. Why? Because of free lipids. This is the basis of my approach. The fact that I found free lipids in the lesion and exclusively in the lesion. And the fact that I give a lesion, a lipid, it goes only there, not nearby. I have a tumor here, it was here. And I make this in animals. We have a big apparatus almost like this. It is of atomic absorption. An atomic absorption will give us from the atoms, from 1/4 1 billion. And they make this. I took rats and mice with tumor, and I inject them selenium, but not lipid. It was all entire body. I took the body, I took the lipids, the tumor, no, very little. I make a lipid with selenium, and I inject it. I took a tumor, entire selenium was in the tumor, nothing in other place. This is the point, is not the secret, but it's the basis of my discovery of the free lipids and how to introduce I put it in 2 words. My discovery has 2 parts. Number 1, found the free lipids. Number 2, to introduce in a lipid the substance which I want. It's called incorporated in the lipid. I think I have a lipid who has inside selenium, and I inject it. It goes to the lesion because it's a lipid, but arrives there and sticks there, the selenium is liberated and starts to work. The fact I make from almost all the elements incorporated. I have incorporated copper, incorporated beryllium, incorporated plum, everything incorporated and utilized. If I wanted to work on a lesion with beryllium, I take the BM, which is beryllium incorporated, and I give it. And I found it entirely there, not in all. And this beryllium is a very good substance. It kills the tumor. Sulfur. Sulfur, you can give as much sulfur to a cancer patient, you will not have too much difference. But if you have a sulfur incorporated in a lipid, it's active. And it's active immediately. The patient has, even in several hours, either the pain disappeared or something else on the lesion. Because it's incorporated, my lipid goes there, bring it in the lesion, and then the sulfur. If I give sulfur otherwise, it doesn't work. My 2 bases, it was 1, found that the lesions have free lipids, and the second, that I incorporated the substance which I want to go to the substance, to the lesion, in a lipid, and this lipid brings me there. Because it goes where is a free lipid. I told in 5 words, 70 years.
Another question?
I just wanted to ask if there'd be any correlation between cancer and arthritis, since arthritis is a big problem too.
Absolutely not at all. Arthritis and cancer. No relation at all. There are patients with arthritis. From 100 patients with arthritis, I don't remember 1 to have at the same time cancer.
Have you worked a lot with arthritic?
Completely different condition. Arthritis, as I told before, I consider cancer like a parasite. Arthritis is not at all. It is a lesion in an articulation or in a tendon in a place.
Not parasites?
Not at all.
I just want to ask for clarification when you were discussing what a limpet is and your treatment of cancer using sulfur. So you're saying you rather than giving sulfur as a generalized in generalized dosages or as a generalized method of curing cancer, you would attack specifically the tumor, specifically the limpet with the sulfur. You would almost like a local injection or a local way of attacking it rather than a general way by orally accepting, for instance, sulfur?
The question, Dr. Revici, is that when you target a specific chemical to the tumor, you target it with the lipids specifically.
Always.
The sulfur is specific.
Specifically sulfur.
Only the sulfur non-lipidic is not active. But the sulfur lipid...
Lipid itself with the sulfur, otherwise it's not...
No, the sulfur in the lipid. I introduce in the molecule of a oil, of tongue oil, for instance, I introduce the sulfur in the molecule by a method of mine. For this I have a patent. I introduce it at the level of the double bond. This is simply a special method.
I'm sorry, excuse me. Does the lipid reside in the bloodstream? Does it reside in tissue? Where does it reside, the lipid?
Does the lipid reside in the bloodstream or in the tissue, or where does it reside?
The lipid goes in the stomach. It's taken by the blood, by the red cells, by the lipids of the red cells, and transported any place in the body, and goes there where it is a free lipid, and goes there. And this takes 10-15 minutes, because you see, you give it even by mouth. By injection in 10 minutes, but by mouth in 15-20 minutes from the stomach is taken and goes already, and you see, for instance, it was painful, the pain stops.
Did we have it?
Yes. I came late, so I didn't hear it. But I want to know, is the lipid part of a cell, or is it the cell itself? What is it?
The question is the lipid part of the cell or the cell itself?
Oh no, it's part of the cell.
Part.
More part of the membrane. And part of the membrane of questions which are inside.
So it's guarded by the cell.
No. In the cell we have the nucleus, but we have the cytoplasm and the membrane. The lipids are most in the membrane of the cell, no? But are in the membrane of the nucleus. There are some chromosomes. They are in the membrane of the chromosome. Where it is a membrane, the lipids intervene. According to my concept, we are formed by lipids. We are conserving the lipids. The watery part of us is made to protect and to conserve the lipids of our body unchanged. We are, from beginning to end, entirely function of our lipids. We are a lipidic world.
Thank you.
It was a book of 800 pages, and more in detail. Excuse me.
I gather that when the sulfur is placed in the lipid, that the lipid is then able to attack. Does it attack something called a tumor at large? Does it attack a free lipid? This is something I don't understand.
Okay. The question, Dr. Revici, is when the sulfur is introduced into the body, what does it attack? Does it attack a lipid or a free lipid in a tumor?
No. If the sulfur is introduced as a watery, it doesn't attack anything and eliminate it. If it is introduced as a lipid, it goes and fixes, especially where the free lipids in the body are. And you must recognize that we need some lipidic sulfur ourselves. And in the future, probably, everybody will take once a week or something, or once a month, a capsule of lipidic sulfur, which is a very good for the defense. But you must have it as sulfur, because if you take it otherwise, it can go enter and doesn't enter in the lipid.
My question is this: do you foresee a better response to your treatments from the centers of cancer treatment in the States, such as NCI or various institutions that now do not use your treatment? Do you see any hope for them using or responding to your kind of research, to your line of research?
The question is, do you see the possibility in the United States of them using, or we, as in Italy, as you stated, will be using your treatments? Will there be in the future in the United States for us to use your treatments?
I will tell you what happened. A group of congressmen together, and more or less officially, have decided to intervene. And they nominated Dr. Brenner, somebody who is an oncologist for 30 years, and a very, very important person, to take a certain number of cases of AIDS and of cancer, and to try it according to my method. I met Dr. Brenner the day before yesterday. I don't know if today or tomorrow we will have dinner with him, but unfortunately, relatively unfortunate, he goes on vacation for 2 weeks. So I give him probably tonight the report that I make it for AIDS and the report for Washington, what I make it for cancer. Possible he will present it before he goes next week. He goes to Washington to leave them this, because they wanted to know what substance, to know, which is very normal. He accepted, they asked him to make this experiment in AIDS and in cancer with my method. And he went, but they asked, I wanted to know what it is. And perfect, and I make them the report, and I gave him either tonight or tomorrow, because I know that we'll have dinner, and he will go, I hope, next week to Washington to leave them this, so that he goes in Europe for 2 weeks vacation. When he comes back, he'll be able to start.
Thank you. Doctor, most of us, I'm sure, when we go for our annual physical, we get a blood workup. Is that right? Most of us. We get a blood workup. We get all these different measurements of our blood. I'm sure there's one of them that says lipids. Is this something that we should watch very carefully?
Okay. The question, Dr. Revici, is that most of us in our annual checkups do get a blood workup. They take blood and they test it for various things. And the gentleman's question was, is there a test for lipids, and is this a significant test that we should have some indication of cancerous activity by?
Splendid. I had here a very, very important scientist from Europe, chief of a very big institute, and she stays over a day with me. She left Sunday a week. Tomorrow will be a week, with a project. And the project is the study of the lipids in the elements in the lipids. Because this is important. The elements like this doesn't work, or work very little, insufficient. But in the lipids, and they gave him a method they call the profile, to establish if in the body one of the elements, copper, I make it with copper, And I showed him the copper that in cancer, the cancer is poor in copper, in lipidic copper, not in copper, in lipidic copper. The body, the watery, is 3 times more copper than normal, with the intention to try to compensate that is missing in the tumor. It cannot, but this is a reaction. So it is a method of the profile. We measure in the lipid and in the water, in the watery. If they are both together up, it's all right. It is excess. This is deficiency. But in abnormal, one is high, the other is low. Or one is low and the other is high. And this is a method which I call the profile, who gives us for the disease and give us for the cancer, the copper, or for the individual even to study. It's a method completely new. Unfortunately, it's an apparatus called $100,000, but we will have it, and he has it. And for this, I hope that he will bring me a lot of material for different disease, AIDS, diabetes, a lot, practically all the disease, to see if it is like we found in cancer, deficiency in copper, and very much in the blood. Everybody speaks today, cancer has too much copper, because they found it in the blood 3 times more. But it's in water. In the blood, the lipids are low, because the cancer is low.
We all know, doctor, that nutrition is important in cancer. I'm wondering what your opinion is when it comes to taking large doses of vitamins, various kinds of vitamins, a lot of them, mega doses.
It is really difficult to tell you, to tell here in few words, summary of my fundamental research. I showed the existence of 2 groups, constructive anabolic or destructive catabolic. And all the phenomena, in cancer, some cancer is anabolic, some cancer catabolic. Elements anabolic and catabolic. Vitamins, some are anabolic, some are catabolic. Some are catabolic. A, D, B6 and B12. These are catabolic. I give them, when I give to the patient a treatment, anti-anabolic. Catabolic, copper or other things, but I give him also, or sulfur, but I give him also, if I want, vitamins A, D, B6, B12. The other are the opposite, are anabolic, especially B1, B2, E. It is also very interesting, they are catabolic. I tell you, it's very difficult in few words, and especially I cannot enter in certain subject, but there are very interesting things related with practically all the aspects. They asked me, somebody, it is a publication which somebody, one assistant of mine, make in 24 pages all my research for every 130 new ideas. And somebody asked me, how could you have 130 ideas? And I tell you, I have 70 years. Now, multiply every year 6 months for it, some 140. Or 6 months for a subject that if I work on this is enough.
If your treatment attacked a cancerous tumor and destroyed the cancer cells, and you have, as you said, a dead tumor, can we then presume if that treatment was continued, it would prevent the recurrence of the cancer again?
question, doctor, is if your treatment attacked a cancerous tumor, and the tumor was therefore dead, can we then assume that if the treatment is continued, it would prevent a recurrence of cancer?
In general, cases treated for this necrosis, death of the tumor, around a month, an injection is almost enough. But I treat it once and a half. After, I don't stop it completely. Take once a week or twice a week, one capsule to maintain a little prevention. If remain, until now I could not find any case, and especially in animals, in which remain a live cell. And I know how much better than by a microscope. In microscope is one we didn't but the fact that I transplanted the tumor, and not one, in a serious animal, not one made a tumor, indicating that practically, because we know that one cell alive give a tumor in experimental animal. We know by experience you either isolate and to take one cell and to inject it to the rat or to the mouse and to provoke a tumor. Or the fact that I didn't have not one single case with tumor transplanted indicates that probably all the cells are fit. I tell you one more. I am very much impressed by the questions and make me a little happy, indicating that really I come in a group with a level really very interesting.
There's one more question.
Economics. Wouldn't the doctor be able to show the government he can save them a lot of money, his method, instead of them complaining there's not enough money for Medicare?
The question, doctor, is if you could show the government how economically sound your method would be instead of wasting a lot of money in the present system.
I tell you, the fact that the next week, or in 2 weeks more, I tell you the name, Dr. Brenner, will make the research in AIDS and cancer officially under the auspices of Food and Drug and National Cancer Institute. The results, if are good, it is not necessary that I go there, they come to me.
Very good. Of course, we'd like to thank Dr. Revici, and we'd like to thank all of you for being here with us today. It's been very, very special and a wonderful treat, and we hope in 6 months' time we can report on Dr. Brenner's results, and we'll keep you informed as Dr. Revici will keep us informed.
Which one? Much earlier.
Earlier than 6. Oh, wonderful. Yes. We have something
because
to look forward to.
AIDS, we have the results in days.
Right.
Cancer, I will ask 2 months.
So we here may be on the forefront of a real major breakthrough in this country for the treatment of AIDS and the treatment of cancer, and it's really exciting.
If I have success, and I hope, and if I come here, I will ask myself a favor, that everybody who came today to come this time also.